Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the WrestleMania 37 Night 1 review for April the 10th, 2021. Much better show than I expected it to be, even with all the snafus. The stuff I thought was going to be junk was junk. The stuff I thought was going to be good was better than expected. Overall, at least for tonight, I am happy to have been a wrestling fan. Not so hot on tomorrow night's card, except for a couple of matches. There was more on this show that I liked than I expect to like tomorrow. But overall, there's still going to be stuff, even on tomorrow's card, one or two matches that I think I'm going to enjoy. The rest of it feels very skippable. Anyway, Vince McMahon comes out, or he's announced by the ring announcer. He comes out. McMahon stands on the stage in front of the entire roster, which kills kayfabe. Of course, it's already dead, but let's try to pretend anyway. He says the wrestlers performed tirelessly in the last year. Something is missing. The fans, and he welcomed everyone to WrestleMania. The wrestlers applaud that the fans are there, and for the most part, when you look around, I'd say a good 80%, 90% were wearing masks, so at least there are some reasonably intelligent people in the stadium in Florida. They probably were forced to, but whatever. Anyway, they had a singer sing America the Beautiful. Wrestlers remain on stage for that. Fans cheered, and jets fly over. I don't know if it was planned that way, but that's what happened. Michael Cole then informs us there's a rain delay. When it rains, it pours, and what can go wrong will go wrong, apparently. Anyway, Sarah interviews Shane McMahon. Shane said he's goosebumps standing in front of the crowd. He said he's ready to go. Take out Braun Strowman. He says he doesn't really have a problem with it, but likes poking fun at him. That's a great thing to build a feud around. Anyway, Bobby Lashley and MVP interrupt Shane so they could talk themselves. MVP said McIntyre is not winning the title back tonight. McIntyre barged in, argued with MVP. MVP holds Lashley back. McIntyre said Mother Nature would not help him, and he's ready to fight back. A referee and Jamie Noble separate them. Lashley and MVP left. McIntyre talks to the announcer, actually tells her where to stand. She's standing on the wrong side of the camera, apparently. Mentions having to wrestle at the PC last year, and now the weather's interrupting the match. He's even ready to fight in the back if needed. Kevin Patrick, who is the first time I'm hearing this guy, and he's abysmally bad, interviews New Day. Kofi Kingston said he accepts the challenge of AJ Styles and Omos because they were fighting champions. Patrick wondered if they were intimidated by Omos' size. Wood said no because they've been undersized since they started wrestling. Big E shows up. Woods spoke to Big E, said they'd find out why they're the best tag team on the earth. Later, Big E massaged Patrick's shoulders. This is just goofy. Anyway, Sarah interviews Braun. Braun and he is ready to go. Kevin Owens spoke about Sami Zayn. He said he met him in 2002, long time, nearly 20 years, he says. They connected because of passion for pro wrestling. He speaks about wrestling all over the world. In 20 years, they've known each other. No two people were talked down to as much as they were. I'm thinking that's a shot at Jim Cornette, although I can't be sure. And they said they get their chance tomorrow. He's going to stun Zayn. And if Logan Paul wants some, he can be ready for it too. The Logan Paul thing didn't get over just like I thought it wouldn't, but they have to go through with it. Anyway, Bianca Belair speaks next. She said she's ready for tonight and happy for the fans. And then they say that she's making herstory tonight. Okay, cute pun on words. Seth Rollins talks to Patrick, who gives him the name Michael. He kept mispronouncing Cesaro's name as well. Rollins is going to prove that he's Mr. WrestleMania. Somebody already has that gimmick. Anyway, Miz and Morrison are up for interviews next. They basically do a retread of the promo they've done 10 million times. Then we finally get started. Titus O'Neil and Hulk Hogan are on stage. O'Neil and Hogan hype the crowd up. O'Neil I guess, comes across pretty okay. Hogan does his, yeah, we're back, brother type promo. McIntyre enters at about just before 9:15 Eastern Time, and that's where the match starts. McIntyre gets a good babyface reaction. McIntyre hits a bunch of overhead suplexes, followed by a neckbreaker. Lashley tries to fight back. McIntyre hits a Northern Lights suplex for two, nearly loses him, but it looked reasonable. Lashley comes back with a clothesline and a Dominator for a near fall of his own. McIntyre nails a headbutt. Lashley comes back with a spine buster. I like the back and forth. Both guys look even. Both guys look strong. McIntyre hits a reverse Alabama slam for a near fall. McIntyre tries to attempt a Claymore. Lashley counters it with another spine buster. The crowd is into McIntyre, and Lashley at one point swears at McIntyre. A lot of swearing in this show, believe it or not. McIntyre hits an overhead suplex and three consecutive attempts at future shock DDTs for near fall. Crowd is into it to the point of giving them a "this is awesome" chant, and I tend to agree. This match was one of the ones I was looking forward to, and it didn't disappoint thus far. McIntyre does the Claymore countdown. The crowd loudly chants along. MVP pulls Lashley out, and McIntyre wipes them both out with a big flip dive. It makes sense in the context of trying to get even with them, I suppose. McIntyre does blocks the Hurt Lock for a minute, and Lashley responds with a suplex and a flatliner. McIntyre blocks the Hurt Lock again, slams Lashley into the buckle, flies a Kimura. Lashley gets a rope break. McIntyre hits a second headbutt, gets distracted by MVP, misses a Claymore kick. Lashley applies the Hurt Lock. McIntyre tries to counter doing the Bret Hart roll through, but doesn't get there. Lashley holds on, and McIntyre passes out. Referee calls for the bell, and Lashley retains. Have to admit, I was surprised by this. I was pretty sure that McIntyre was going to get the win, and they were going to go back with it. Maybe they've got something bigger planned for Lashley around SummerSlam. Certainly hope so. I like the surprise here. Crowd was a bit surprised. O'Neal speaks with Hogan, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, Sean Waltman, and they're interrupted by Bayley. She spoke about how huge her Ding Dong Hello show is and wants props from everyone, doesn't get anything. She's ignored by everyone except Sean Waltman, who basically brushes her off. There's about a half dozen commercials between segments. This is the cost of the new Peacock. Natalya and Tamina win the tag team turmoil match at 14:07. This was exactly what I expected it to be. Bunches of women doing spots. They tried hard, but nobody really cared. The crowd was down in comparison to the previous match. Billie Kay pins Naomi in about 2 minutes. Riot Squad beat Billie Kay and Carmella. Carmella tries to help Kay. Cheat, but referee catches her. Senton off the top for the elimination. Carmella attacks them after getting eliminated. This is just flat, and it's ugly and pointless. I understand getting women on the show just because, but at the same time, it really doesn't work. Anyhow, Riot Squad defeats Mandy Rose, Dana Brooke. Rose and Brooke did wear matching gear. They really tried to make Mania special. Rose slips during her entrance thanks to the water we've had from the rainstorm. Brooke tries a senton off the top rope, but Morgan gets a roll-up out of it for a pin. Tamina and Natalya Neidhart defeat the Riot Squad. Tamina gives Ruby Riott a diving splash for the pinfall. Tamina and Natalya earn a tag team women's match tomorrow night on the second half of Mania 37. I don't know who would care about this. I understand giving the women a payday just because, but I don't imagine anybody's even going to remember this match was on here in a month or two. Anyway, Cesaro defeats Seth Rollins in 11:27. This was another of the matches that I was looking forward to. Cesaro's in black and yellow. Rollins is in black and red. Cesaro hits an uppercut almost at the opening bell, right before the bell, goes for the swing. Rollins gets to the ropes. Rollins follows with a superplex into a Falcon Arrow, nearly loses him, but it's pretty cool. They're less than 2 or 3 minutes into the match, and they're doing all this action, so obviously they've had their time cut at least a little bit. Cesaro comes back with a number of uppercuts and a clothesline, gets a near fall. Rollins dodges the swing. Cesaro finally gets the swing about 9 or 10 times until his arm gives out. Tries the sharpshooter, but Rollins gets to the ropes. The crowd wants another swing, and Rollins dodges an uppercut. Hits a flying knee and a sling blade. Rollins follows with a corkscrew splash for a near fall. Then we go to Cesaro abruptly hits a neutralizer for near fall. Surprised that wasn't the finish. Rollins follows with a pedigree, and Rollins hits a bunch of strikes, hits a curve stomp. Cesaro gets out, lifts his shoulder, and does another uppercut. Cesaro then does an airplane spin with no hands. And Cesaro does a big swing. Cole claimed it was 23 swings. And people are debating that online. Some say as many as 24. Some say as few as 18, 19. So didn't go back and check. Doesn't really matter. Cesaro follows with a neutralizer for a win. And he celebrates like this is a big deal. Crowd is happy. And probably just as loud as they were for McIntyre and Lashley, just in a different way. Braxton interviews Dolph Ziggler, Robert Roode. They put over AJ Styles and Omos. Ziggler wants to welcome Omos with them. Roode knew Styles for a long time and wouldn't bet against him. AJ Styles and Omos defeat Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods for the Raw Tag Team Championships in 9:30. I was interested in Omos, and I'm glad I hung out for it. I know no one's going to agree, but for all the work rate nerds who think that it's all about spot, I honestly think they have something if they protect Omos. Give him a Goldberg level deal. Let him do 3 or 4 moves for 6 months to a year. Have him beat up to just about beat everybody once you're done with the tag team thing. I think they've got something anyway. Omos wears street clothes. Cole claims at one point he's near 400 pounds. New Jay goes after Styles, and finally there's a cutoff. Omos gets tagged in. Woods even acknowledges that they cut the ring off on Styles and that was their strategy. Woods tries some strikes, gets no effect when Omos is finally in there. Crowd pops huge for Omos because he's a huge guy. They say 7'3". I would believe 7 feet, if not very, very close to it. Kingston tags in, tries an axe handle, Omos grabs him by the arm and pulls him down. Hands out backbreakers to Woods, and Kingston Styles leaps off his shoulders with a phenomenal forearm. Cool spot. Almost reminded me of the Jimmy Snuka Andre the Giant splash deal from a long time ago. Almost gives Kingston a tree slam, covers him with 1 foot spin. Super showcase for Almost, and again, I think they have something if they don't botch it. Jerry Lawler joins the commentary team, which begs the question, because I listen to anything that has Michael Cole on it on mute except for interviews. I come back for interviews and go back to mute. I cannot stand Michael Cole. Never liked him and despise the fact that he's the lead announcer in WWE now. Anyway, if Jerry Lawler's in the building, why wasn't he out there for the majority of this? I later learned that he was part of the pre-show or whatever they do, but I don't watch that unless there's a match on it. Anyhow, steel cage match, Braun Strowman, Shane McMahon, just under 11.5 minutes. Elias and Jason Riker attack Strowman with chairs before he could get in the cage. They go after his leg. Ref stops the match. Shane hits some really weak-looking kicks to the leg that Strowman oversells. Shane grabs a piece of metal off the cage, hits Strowman with it, and Shane tries escaping. Strowman pulls him down off the cage, and Strowman goes for a running power slam, but his leg gives out in a weird-looking way. Shane slips out, takes control for a minute, Shane hits the coast-to-coast dropkick, which if a guy at 50 can do it, I wonder how cool a move that really was for back in the day. Elias and Riker tries climbing to the outside of the cage. Strowman comes into the cage and knocks Shane down in the process. Shane climbs to the top, and there's a toolbox at the top of the cage. I wonder how that got there. And he smashes Strowman in the face with it. Shane climbs out of the cage, out to the outside, and then sticks his hand through to make fun of Strowman. Strowman grabs him by the hand and smashes it through the cage, which was an interesting and painful-looking spot. Strowman pulls Shane to the top of the cage. They both stand there. Strowman asks him who's stupid now. Strowman sends Shane from the top of the cage into the ring, which looked like a heck of a bump, but it was a stunt bump as one would expect for this particular type of match. Seemed like the crowd is ready to be cool with this being the finish. Strowman climbs back down and gives a power slam for a pinfall win. There's a bunch of fireworks, and then Michael Cole said it's time to honor the Hall of Famers, and they do. Hall of Famers JBL, William Shatner, Brie, and Nikki Bella. This is bothersome. Jushin Liger, Titus O'Neil with the Warrior Award, British Bulldog, and the NWO were honored in the 2020 Hall of Fame. Steve Austin lets us know that WrestleMania 38 is in 2022 and will be held at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. Booker T joins for the, I can't believe I'm going to say this, semi-main event of Night 1, which is, of course, Damian Priest and Bad Bunny defeating The Miz and John Morrison. Bad Bunny does a entrance that includes bouncing people in bunny costumes. It was okay. I wish Damian Priest had gotten more out of this. A lot of people think he gets a rub from being near Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny, for me, is bad business. He's a celebrity crossover that I don't think enough people care about that it's going to get the rub they think, and he probably took a lot of money to do it. I didn't enjoy it, but I'm happy that Priest got to be on Mania and hopefully gets a Mania payday, whatever that looks like in 2021. Priest is going to start. Bad Bunny comes in. Crowd likes it, so obviously I'm not their target demo. Miz puts his hands behind his back, makes fun of Priest. Bad Bunny punches him in the face, and then he tackles Miz and goes to town on him. Miz knees him in the gut, takes him over. Bad Bunny counters a takedown into a takedown of his own. Miz bails to the outside. Bunny uses a roll-up for near fall. Crowd is happy with this. Miz takes him down for another moment. Bad Bunny does a spinning leg scissors takedown, which admittedly was impressive for a guy with what I'm sure amounts to very little training. Morrison tags in and distracts the ref, which allows Miz to cheat. Bad guys take over. Bad Bunny fights and catches Miz in a roll-up for a 2 count. And then there's a takedown with a big boot. Heels work over Bad Bunny for quite a while. Morrison does a spin of Rooney, and Booker T has to watch this in horror. Miz is distracted by the crowd. Bad Bunny hits a boot and a tornado DDT, and Priest is tagged in. Priest goes after Miz and Morrison. He suplexed Morrison onto Miz before chokeslamming Miz. Morrison breaks up the cover. Priest and Bad Bunny each hit Miz and Morrison with broken arrows at the same time, but they kicked out. This was a cool tandem spot. Again, as much as I don't enjoy Bad Bunny, he did put in a lot of work into making things look as best he could with the experience level he has. Bad Bunny gives Morrison a Canadian Destroyer on the outside, thus killing the illusion that that move has any actual credibility. Priest sends Miz on his shoulders. Bad Bunny hits a flying crossbody for a pinfall win. It was better than it should have been. It still wasn't my cup of tea, but the crowd liked it, and I guess at the end of the day, that's what matters. Your main event for Night 1 is here. Bianca Belair defeats Sasha Banks for the SmackDown Women's Championship in just about 17 and a quarter minutes. This was a star-making event. What I find interesting is that in the last 7 years since the start of NXT as a major brand, they've made women, Charlotte, Bayley, Sasha, Becky Lynch, Asuka, Ronda Rousey to a lesser degree, and now Bianca Belair. They have made 7 women into bona fide stars. Um, they don't seem to do this with men, but they do it really well with women. I'm curious what that means for the future of the business. But anyway, um, Banks has blue and green hair and green and black gear. Belair wears purple gear. Belair is emotional before the match. Crowd's very into the whole thing as it starts and throughout. Belair goes for the Glam Slam early, and then Banks knocks her out of the ring. Banks uses her hair and drives her into the post. Banks tries a dive, but Belair rolls through and presses her back into the ring. This was incredible power, super master stuff. And then Belair tries a moonsault. Banks catches her by the hair and hits a series of kicks. The Banks then goes with double knees. Belair intercepts and slams her. Banks tries grabbing Bianca's hair again for leverage. Belair uses it to yank Banks into the post. I like the use of the hair spot. It's creative, it's new, it's something we haven't seen before. Then there's a hanging suplex that was masterfully done by Belair. Belair uses some tackles and drop kicks and a standing shooting star press. And Belair went for a 450 splash. Banks gets the knees up. Belair is probably one of the better athletes of either gender that they have right now. And then they trade counters until Belair powerbombs her for near fall. Banks frustrated and kicks her and then hits a tornado DDT for near fall of her own. Belair follows up with a frog splash for the near fall of her own. And then Banks becomes really frustrated and wrenches her arm in the ropes, tosses her into the steel steps. Banks puts Belair in the crossface, using Belair's hair for leverage, which was an interesting spot. Belair gets to the ropes, and they battle for position. Belair avoids a double knee strike and hits another 450 splash for near fall. Overuse of the 450, but it is WrestleMania, so whatever. Tug of war with Bianca's hair. Belair whips Banks with her hair and then hits the KOD for the win. This is super emotional, and her family comes in. There are several WrestleMania moments on the first night worth going out of your way to see. You can skip the women's match. You could. That's about it, actually. So, until next time, keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Till next time, everybody.